Welcome again, Secondary 2 students. I'm Ms. Shu on behalf of Alahram Modern School English Department. Today, we are going to have an introduction about poetry. We're going to talk about poetic devices and terms. Okay, generally, what is poetry? Poetry is a literary work to express certain idea or feelings using different literary terms, or we can call it also figure of speech. Okay, we're going to start with the rhyme. What is rhyme? The repetition of sounds and rhyme, the last word on each line rhymes. Like here we have toes, close, hair, bear, goes. Okay, this is rhyme. Okay, and we were going to write rhyme scheme for it. And we have internal rhyme which gives a sound to the lines like rows and toes. Okay, other examples for rhyme words like hat, cat, rat, fat, mat, set, and so on. Okay, then we have alliteration. What is alliteration? The repetition of the initial sound in two or more words in a line. What do I mean by initial sound? The starting sound of a word. Okay. Example: how much dew would a dewdrop drop if a dewdrop did drop dew? So we have the sound of letter D here repeated, okay, many times. It can be two or more than two times. So here we have the letter D here in dew and drop. Okay, it's alliteration. Let's see what this looks like in a poem. Okay. She walks in beauty like the night, of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright, meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light, which heaven to gaudy day denies. Okay. Here we have cloudless climes, alliteration, two, repeated sound, the same repeated sound like the sound of the letter C, its sound is like K. And we have starry skies, and we have day denies, the repetition of S sound here and D sound here. This is alliteration. Okay. These examples use the beginning sounds of words only twice in a line. But by definition, that's all you need. So we can have it two times in a line or more than that. Okay, here we have onomatopoeia. It's what? Words that spell out sounds, words that sound like what they mean. You can hear the sound from the words like growl, hiss, pop, boom, crack, and so on. So you can hear the sound or imagine the sound through the words. Okay? So again, words that spell out sounds, words that sound like what they mean. Let's see what these look like in a poem. Screech, scream, holler and yell, buzz, a buzzer, clang, a bell, sneeze, hiccup, whistle, shout, laugh until your lungs wear out. So you can hear screech, scream. These words have a sound in it. Okay, buzz a buzzer, clang a bell. Okay, so this is onomatopoeia. Several other words not highlighted could also be considered as onomatopoeia. Can you find any? Yes, very good. Like sneeze, hiccup, whistle, shout, laugh until your lungs wear out. Here we have laugh also. We have simile. Okay, it's a comparison between two usually unrelated things using the word like or as. I'm going to compare two things using the word as or like. Example: Joe is as hungry as a bear. As a bear here. Is Joe a bear? No, I compared him as hungry as a bear. In the morning, Ray is like an angry lion. So I compare Ray, his angriness, by a lion, using the word like. Okay, let's see what this looks like in a poem. A poem should be palpable and mute as a globed fruit, silent as a slave-worn stone of casement places where the moss has grown. Here we have as. Okay, a poem should be wordless as the flight of birds, and another one. This is simile. Okay. Then we have the metaphor. What do I mean by metaphor? An implied comparison between two usually unrelated things. What do I mean by that? If I told you Lenny is a snake, so I compared Lenny with a snake. She is a bad person, she is wicked like snake, she is not straightforward. Okay? The difference between a simile and a metaphor, take care of this, is that a simile requires either like or as to be included in the comparison. So I have to have like or as to be simile. And a metaphor requires that neither be used. Okay, I can't have as or like in a metaphor. Okay, so the comparison between two things, okay, or I bring something from an animal to compare a person of it without using as or like, it's a metaphor. Okay, if I told you I'm a turtle, okay, this means that I'm very slow. Okay, so this is metaphor. But if I told you I'm slow as a turtle, so this is simile. Okay, when it comes to using a metaphor device in poetry, a poet can either make the entire poem a metaphor for something or put little metaphors throughout the poem. So the whole poem can be a metaphor representing something, okay, or he can use some figure of speech, put metaphor here in a line, and so on. Then we have personification. Okay, again, we have rhyme, we have metaphor, we have simile, and we have here personification, giving human characteristics to inanimate objects, ideas, or animals. Example, the sun stretched its lazy fingers over the valley. Okay, the poet compared the sun by a person who can stretch his fingers. So the sun is not human, but he compared the sun by a human or a man who can stretch his fingers, okay, among or over the valley. Okay. Then we have symbol, a word or an image that signifies something or other than what it represents. Like what? The wind could be the symbol of fear or hope or angerness, for example, okay? So he can use the wind in order to represent something, okay, else, like symbol, okay? We have contrast. The poet uses words and opposites to make the meaning clear by saying what, like this example, plowing here and plowing there. Up and down and everywhere. Okay, here we have here, the word here and the word there. They are contrast or opposite to each other, and we have up and down. Okay, if I told you, or if I tell you that white only, okay, it will be a word, just a word, okay? But if I told you that white and black, it will be more clarified, okay, to you, to bring two opposite words. Let us revise quickly the personification, okay, the simile, the metaphor, onomatopoeia, alliteration, and rhyme. This all we can call literary elements of poetry, literary terms, or figure of speech. Okay, try to. Okay, I'm going to leave you after the video in order to try try to write 5 lines which have rhythm, alliteration, simile, and metaphor or personification. You're going to try yourself as a poet to write 5 lines using these figure of speech, okay? Okay, then later you're going to do that. Now we're going to open our booklets, page 24, and let us read this poem. Let peace be in your heart, but be careful, as you are going to tell me the theme of the poem, the mood, and you are going to pick up the literary terms of it. The theme is the main idea of the poem, and the mood, the feeling that the poet left in you, inside you, while you are reading the poem or after reading the poem. Okay, and the literary terms, as we just have said, figure of speech and so on. Okay, let peace be in your heart. Listen. Let peace be in your heart, for the one we all apart. No matter what color or race or creed, we come from one source, the divine sacred seed. Let love flow from one to another, father and mother and sister and brother, the animals too and birds of the air. In love we are all made, and in love we should share. The oceans and seas and trees growing tall, in love were created and love to us call. Please care for us, treat us and know us with love. Let us all live together in peace and in love. Okay, before answering, just think about the figure of speech, the mood, and the main theme or the theme. Okay. Okay, we have alliteration, the S sound repeated at the beginning of source, sacred, and seed in the first stanza, the fourth line. Then we have antithesis, the words one and part are opposites of all. Okay, so we have opposites in ideas, not just words. Consonants, we have the R sound is repeated in matter, color, or creed. In the first stanza, the third line, we have repetition. Also, the word and is repeated in father and mother and sister and brother. Of course, you know, when we are mentioning words from the same category, we make commas between them, but the poet repeated and many times here, father and mother and sister and brother. In the second stanza, second line. Okay, thank you for your interest and see you later. Goodbye.